You ever wonder why we're here? It's one of life's great mysteries, isn't it?
5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Here we go!
This video is sponsored by Dead Island 2. Welcome to Master and Apprentice. Today, on a very special Rooster Teeth 20th Anniversary Edition,
We're gonna be making the flaming baseball bat from Dead Island 2.
this is Marcus Laporte. For the last 20 years, Marcus has been working in the film industry as a production designer, art director, and prop fabricator.
And this is Adam Ellis, a novice cosplayer and friend who makes working in the shop a lot of fun.
We're gonna show you what it takes to make professional level props from your favorite movies and video games.
And teach you the tricks that pros use that you can do at home.
This is Master and Apprentice.
Okay, Marcus, Dead Island 2 is a long-awaited sequel to Dead Island. And in that game, you are scavenging, finding anything you can use to make a weapon, and then customize it and make it a zombie survival tool. This thrilling first-person action adventure takes players across a brand new playground, a hellish vision of LA, or Hell-A.
Dead Island 2 is stylish, vibrant, and flooded with zombie infection. Explore iconic, gore-drenched Los Angeles. Meet larger-than-life characters,
Slay countless foes in exquisitely bloody detail, and evolve to become the ultimate zombie slayer. How do we take this and turn it into something like that?
So the flaming bat is pretty much what it says it is. It's a bat that catches on fire. Super effective in close combat, great for smashing zombies, also excellent for making s'mores. We've got some significant challenges we're gonna be dealing with today, one of which is the bat is tapered all the way down,
Sure.
Which is gonna mean our fabrication's gonna have to be kind of custom every time we move down the bat. The second challenge is that all these little parts and pieces have multi-layered finishes, which means it's some pretty complicated paintwork. And then the last challenge is actually incorporating the fire element.
I'm excited to light it on fire.
Me
What
too.
do we do first?
Okay, so the first step is gonna be to sand and strip the factory finish off this bat so that we can stain this the color that we want and start doing some paint work. The idea right now is to get this paint and clear coat all stripped so that we can stain it this sort of nice golden orange color that we see here. One of the nice things about a cylindrical item is it's really easy to sand.
Yeah.
Because you can just kind of use the curve of your hand, put a gentle curve in the paper, and it usually makes quick work. Next, we're gonna apply the finish to this. However, we don't know exactly what combination of some of these colors and stains are gonna be the exact match. We are basically gonna do some sampling on these little sticks of pine that we can experiment with these colors. We can dial it in, and then once we like it, we can apply that to our finished bat. You just kinda wanna go all the way to the end and pull it and push it back and forth. I think we're ready to do the bat. So anytime you're staining wood, the longer it sits, the darker it's gonna get. And if we don't work fast, then it might bite harder in one place and not as much in another. So you wanna coat the entire bat as quickly as possible. We can always do another layer and get it darker, but we can't undo the darkness once it's already added. That's beautiful. What a nice color.
It is nice, especially once you darken it up a little
Yeah.
bit. Oh yeah, that looks
That is
awesome.
really close.
We'll call it a win.
Yeah, agreed. One of the challenges that we were facing today is the fact that our bat is tapered, right? Because this is an angle and not a flat cylinder, paper tape is not ideal, right? An alternative would be standard electrical tape. Still forms a good seal, and it's gonna be able to ride this taper without leaving buckles and wrinkling. We're using spray paint, so we need some more protection here. Otherwise, the overspray is gonna go over everything.
Right.
We're just using standard spray paint. You can be kind of close in this one.
Really? Okay.
Yeah, and the reason is because the farther away, the more likely it is that the overspray is gonna spread out and cover some of the areas that we haven't masked. You need to have like nice, smooth, linear motions, especially when you're painting on a nice, smooth, linear thing.
Sure.
The more standardized your movement is, the better the paint is gonna be distributed and the even and perfect of a coating you're gonna end up with.
Okay.
So if you want to know how dry your piece is, paint a stick at the same time and then test with your finger on that.
Instead of in your nice finished piece. So it's kind of hard to see in the photo because a lot of our parts do cover it up, but there is a Kentucky Smasher logo that goes on this bat, which
Got it.
you know is like the
brand name.
It's the Dead Island 2 brand name for the bat. So I do have the graphic. We're gonna use a vinyl sticker as a mask to kind of give us that logo, and we're gonna place it on there. We're gonna use some transfer film, and then we're gonna use the same spray paint. That way, that particular part of the paint process will be a lot more resilient to flames. This is easily the best way that I can get a really nice, clean, crispy paint job without having to hand paint it.
Right.
So we've got everything masked off.
Uh-huh.
You want this to be as sharp as possible and not look spray paint. You want it to look like it's been done in a factory, right?
Right.
So the solution to this is to take the color That is your base coat, and in this case, it's black. We're going to go ahead and paint on the color of everything around this stencil so that if there's going to be any bleed, it's going to be the color that it already is. We have applied our vinyl mask.
Yep.
We have done the first coat of black, and we're ready to spritz this white. We don't want to go heavy right here.
Yeah. So we're gonna do like 2 or 3.
We're just gonna do
light
some
layers.
real light misting coats here. We're not gonna be close because the closer we are, the more likely that the liquid form of the paint is gonna go in there. At this point, we're looking pretty good. Feel like we can probably peel most of this. So even though this takes a while, lettering is not easy to paint by hand.
Adam, this looks awesome.
The next step is to do the wrap down here, down low. We'll do some grip tape and some bat tape. And then to finish it off, we're gonna take a little bit of white paint on a brush. Sort of paint process is really important to a prop in general. One of my pet peeves is when I see someone's cool prop or cosplay costume. It's typically just base coated in a single color, and that's where they stopped. And that's usually the difference between a cool prop and an amazing prop. This yellow stripe, as you can see in our production design, is not a perfect edge. It's got some nicks, it's got some scratches.
So we're gonna mar the yellow to match the image.
So we've made some good progress. Most of the paint and the wrapping is done. At this point, we have a really great base. Start adding all these aluminum parts on, working with the copper fittings. It's kind of hard to see in the picture, but there are some rings that go all the way down this. They have 1, 2, 3, 4 rings that mount here. And it's kind of the structure for all the other stuff to attach to. So that's the next step. We're using some aluminum strapping
To create the metal rings?
I'm gonna use this metal bat because it's kind of an analog for this one, right? And we would basically attach this to the place where we think it matches the diameter and the taper of this other bat. And whenever we bend this around, it's gonna give us a really close curve. Now, I've drilled a hole in here. We're gonna use a self-tapping screw.
And that's just to hold it in place as, as we bend it?
Exactly.
Cool. Oh, nice.
We can do this.
You make it look so easy.
It is easy, and that's why we're doing it, because trying to take a little short section of aluminum and bend it like that, you've got no leverage, you have no power. So the idea is this extra material is everything that we need to be able to spin this around. And we're gonna use our grinder with a cutoff wheel, and we're just gonna cut it right in the spot that we need it. Now it's time to remove the screw, back it out. And then we're gonna slide this out, and we're kind of left with a nice curved piece.
And how are we attaching them?
So we're going to be screwing them in just using standard wood screws. But before we attach them, they'll need to be spray painted black like in the model.
I've got some nuts that we're gonna plant on afterwards to carry the aesthetic of the production design over. So what we've done is we've taken a little bit of epoxy putty. We're gonna cut up some of this. We're gonna roll it in our fingers. We're gonna smear it in here, and it's basically gonna create what looks just like what we're seeing. Okay, Adam, so we've got all of our aluminum pieces attached. We've put our fake bolt heads on. We've made some significant progress. Now we're gonna switch to some copper. We're gonna kind of roll this off. We're gonna cut a section using a small pipe cutter. Basically, this is a way to do this without crimping your copper pipe. One of the cool things about the design of the flaming baseball bat from Dead Island 2 is that they designed it with this in mind. The copper piping is actually what you would normally use for a propane torch kind of setup. And they took cues from real life and actually modeled that into the game, and I was really happy to see that. We're gonna solder these joints. We're gonna use a propane torch, a little roll of solder, and some acid flux, which is like a paste, which kind of preps and cleans the joint to make sure that you get a nice bond with the solder. I'm actually gonna use vice grips to hold on to this thing.
It's hot.
Because it's hot. All right.
So you're heating up the joint.
Yep. You kind of want to push and build your heat in the direction you're working. And you want to pick a direction that's away from you, away from the tool, so that the longer we work this and the hotter it gets, the farther away from the tool we are. The last step for this particular thing is going to be we're going to spray paint these black just like we have everything else.
Do a little bit of aging on them, and then once they're prepared, we're going to attach them to the frame.
If you notice right here on our drawing, it looks like a signature.
Yep.
But I thought it would be cool to put our signatures on there instead.
I agree. Plus Marcus plus Adam forever.
There you go. At this point, we have done virtually all of the metal work. Now we're kind of coming back. We're ready to do some kit bashing. We've got some typical parts that you would find at a hardware store that match the things that we're seeing in our drawing. We're to the point where we're gonna do some modification of these to make them look exactly like them. So kit bashing is a film industry term, or really a model maker's term, where you want your model to look a certain way and it doesn't look like that out of the box from the factory. So you take a bunch of other model kits and you pull the pieces you want and need and you bash them together. Ready to do some stuff?
Which piece are we starting on?
So we're building some pieces out of wood, since that's way easier to fabricate. And then we're going to spray paint them black to give them the look to match.
We painted the glass on this and it looks kind of amazing.
It looks amazing.
I've created this graphic from scratch, referencing from our picture. We just have to cut it out and apply it to the tube. Once it's applied to the tube, we're gonna do a little aging and weathering just to make it look a little more, used. We're ready to move on to our only 3D printed part. Now, 3D printing is really great. The tool is kind of amazing. We could have 3D printed almost all of this, right? But where's the fun in that?
Yeah.
And in this particular case, we felt like barring having to CNC mill an aluminum part, instead we took the 3D model and used it as a reference. In this particular case, we're just gonna paint this and do some aging. We're gonna mount a block of wood and
You have holes for the hoses as well?
we do. We sized these holes to match the tubing that we were gonna use. And now all we have to do is attach it and then start running some hoses to all these little points that connect. We've got another piece that kind of rides in here in the middle here that comes out of this hole right there.
And that one's a copper?
That one's copper, and it hasn't been painted black like some of the others. So
Okay.
we're gonna use a little step-down fitting to go in the end here. Okay, so what is left at this point is gonna be adding all these aging and weathering techniques.
So in front of us, we have a bat from Dead Island 2.
Yep.
And how do we make it a flaming bat from
Okay.
Dead Island 2?
So we are going to use a flammable material, flammable gas, basically. We are going to run a separate copper tube that's got some holes drilled in it. Everywhere we put a hole, we're going to get a little jet of flame. And then we're going to kind of incorporate this little guy into the existing framework of what's already going on. And then it's going to quick connect into a fitting here. This is going to lead back to a magic thing that I'm not going to tell you about, so that you don't do this at home and blow yourself up. Essentially, this is the flame bar that we've created. We might have to trim it down. It's a little long at the moment, but I left it long just so that it could land where we want it to land.
I think you said something that's very important to harp on, is that the flame part of this is not something that anyone should do.
Don't try this at home.
Definitely don't. Okay, Marcus, here is our flaming baseball bat from Dead Island 2.
It looks so good.
I'm kind of blown away by it. The fire aside, the build itself is really awesome.
I'm really glad that we built everything out of metal and copper.
Yeah.
Because all the areas that surround the flame bar are essentially protected.
But I like these three details.
Yeah.
Without them, it kind of looks like a baseball bat with some stuff on it, but the
Right.
moment you add them, you wouldn't have to guess what this is.
Correct.
But you can tell that this would be a baseball bat that would
Yeah.
light on fire.
Is it time to test this thing out?
Let's get out of here. Ready, Marcus?
Yep. Thanks to Dead Island 2 for sponsoring this episode.
And thanks to Rooster Teeth for bringing us back for a special 20th anniversary edition of Master and Apprentice. We're celebrating 20 years of Rooster Teeth with new episodes of your favorite classic shows. This week was Master and Apprentice, and next week is a mystery.
Join us in celebration with one of the videos below and comment with your guess for next week's video. Come back each Friday to find out.
Make a wish.
I made a wish. I'm not telling you though.
Thank you for watching one of many surprise videos. Click here to watch more 20th anniversary content.
Drop a comment down below. Let us know what video you think is next. Do not leave a comment up above, no matter what. It's impossible.
That's God's place. That's for his comments.
Your Alabama showing.